everybody. Dallisa Hocking here. I am a fifth generation psychic medium. I am an astrology enthusiast. I love looking at natal charts and seeing where the energy shows up because I see it, I hear it, I feel it. But astrology gives me the roadmap that I can look at and go, wow, isn't that fascinating? So thank you for joining us. This is called Famous and Fated. It's where we take a look at a birth chart of someone you know and we interpret it. And today I've invited a very special guest, Benjamin Bernstein. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Benjamin's work. I think you're going to be really impressed because I know I am. I've had readings done with him. I've read his book. He's fantastic. I'll include all the link to Benjamin's work in the description of this video. But this format of the show is a little bit different today. We're going to give you some hints, and Benjamin's going to interpret things that are showing up in this mystery chart. But as the viewer, I want you, if you're watching the live premiere, I want you to comment in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, I want you to drop a comment in this video below. We want your guesses before we do the reveal of who you think this chart belongs to. So it's fun, it's interactive, and I invite you to play along with us today for Famous and Fated. Let me tell you a little bit more about Benjamin, and then we're going to dive right into the chart. So Benjamin is also known as the Astro Shaman. You can go to astroshaman.com to get more information on his work. He is the author of an Amazon #1 bestseller. I've read it. It's fantastic. Instant Divine Assistance, your complete guide to fast and easy spiritual awakening, healing, and more. He hosts not one, but two podcasts. They are called Awaken, Heal, and Thrive. And the other one is award-winning. And if you love astrology, you've got to go subscribe to this. It's called This Week in Astrology podcast. He runs the Awakening Plus online membership. It helps everyone in that group awaken, heal, and thrive. He's won numerous awards. He's done over 10,000 sessions, clients all over the world, 45 plus years of spiritual practice. Benjamin knows his craft. It's why I love collaborating with him. And lastly, one of his greatest joys really is working with clients on the free Instant Divine Assistance, the IDA invocations. For more about that, again, I'd suggest going to the website, astroshaman.com, check out the book, link in the description of this video. Benjamin, I can't wait to go through this chart with you. I'm going to stay pretty quiet in the background. And like I said, I want everybody watching this to give us your comments and your guesses. We'll do the reveal here in a little bit, so make sure you stay tuned all the way through this video. So Benjamin, without further ado, take it over.
Hi. So once again, Dallisa, thanks. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I love collaborating with you too. So let me go ahead and bring up this chart. And so as part of the mystery, we don't reveal the birth data until we reveal the person. But if you can see what's on the screen here, that's the natal chart. And what's so fascinating about this person, it's a he, and he's made a fascinating transition from entertainer to leader. And that's one of the key things. And as it so happens, both entertainer and leader are the archetype Leo. So we should have a look and see how that archetype is supported first, and then we'll get into his. He also is known for being the first in his position to use some unorthodox communication methods and some outside the box methods. And that would be a genius signature, which we'll get to as well. So Leo, he's got plenty. If you look down here in the lower left, Mars and the moon and Saturn are all in the sign of Leo. So let's take them one at a time. Mars is as it so happens, Mars also is the archetype of the leader, as is Leo. So to have Mars and Leo kind of is double leader energy. As it turns out, even when he was an entertainer, he wasn't a solo entertainer all the time. He was the leader of a comedy troupe. Okay. So he was the leader of the entertainers, okay, as well as the leading that he's doing now. Okay. So that's the Mars and Leo, pretty strong. Also, it's interesting that in the house system I use, Porphyry, Mars is in the second house, and the second house has to do with how you earn money from your occupation. So in both his entertainment and his leadership now, he was definitely making a living doing what he's doing. Then we go to the moon in Leo, and the moon is what's instinctive and kind of natural for you. So this says he just has an instinctive ability to entertain and lead. And this is in the house, the third house of communication. So this says when he communicates, he can entertain, which he definitely did in his earlier years as an entertainer and comedian, and in his current role as a leader on a larger scale in a more serious way. So that's the moon in Leo. And the moon also in a famous person such as him is the public. So moon in Leo says, I am the leader of a public, entity of some kind. I'm trying not to give away too much here with my careful language here.
I'm over here shaking my head and laughing because I'm like, I think I probably would have guessed it.
Maybe this is a little easier than the other ones.
Yes, but that's okay. We want people to get it and to have fun and interact. So keep those comments going of your guesses.
If you're guessing this person, you might be right, you might be wrong. We'll find out here soon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I might be sneaky. Who knows? All right. So, and then Saturn is in Leo. Now, in a natal chart, a non-personal planet such as Saturn usually is of lesser importance than one of the personal planets, your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, unless that non-personal planet rules an angle. And as it so happens, his career house has Aquarius on the cusp, and Aquarius, the ancient ruler, is Saturn. So Saturn has unusually high prominence in his chart compared to most people's Saturn because it rules his career and reputation. So here in his public, in his reputation, what he's doing for a living, once again, entertainer and leader is strongly supported. So we see there's a very strong Leo signature, but that isn't even all the Leo energy, because in astrology, you can get to one of the 12 astrology archetypes through a planet, a sign, or a house. And in anybody's chart, the fifth house is the house that carries a Leo flavor. So what's there? The north node of the moon, the destiny point. Okay. So this says he was destined to be an entertainer and or leader. And the north node is in Libra, which associates with creativity. And in his earlier incarnation as a comedian and entertainer, there's no question he was doing a great job. He was very popular and very well loved as an entertainer and comedian. And so he was doing his entertainment fifth house vibe in creative work. And anyone who's watching what he's doing now in his current more serious leadership role could not dispute he's also being very creative in how he's leading. So remember, being creative doesn't just mean you're in the arts. Creating means I'm taking whatever tools are available to me in whatever situation I'm in, and I'm creating something good out of them. So creativity is an extremely broad term. It's just taking any two pre-existing elements, two or more, and doing something new with them. So he's being creative even now, even though he's doing more serious work. And here's Pluto, also in the Leo flavored fifth house. And Pluto is wealth and power. And in this case, it's more about power. And his current role in the world is, he is definitely being called to hold tremendous power and use power skillfully, because he is being faced with tremendous power in opposition to him. So the leadership with power, he is, people have been amazed. When he first came to the position of power he's in, he wasn't taken as seriously. He was, said, how could a person who's just an entertainer and a comedian take on this really potent position of power and handle it well? But, he's being compared to some of the great leaders of all time right now with the way he's handling power. So him holding power in a good way, and it appears to me, power comes in two flavors. There's service to self and service to other. The power he's facing is, in my opinion, more of a service to self power. It just wants what it wants, and it really doesn't care how much devastation it wreaks to get what its desired outcome is. But he says, I want to use power in a way that benefits the people that I'm being, responsible for.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, while we're here, because Mars, in my opinion, is usually indicative of power and action, or how somebody, we see it in Leo. So you're saying that this mystery person that we haven't revealed yet is more in a position of leadership to be of service to others rather than to self. Is that how you'd interpret it?
Yes, again, Pluto can go either way. You just have to watch how a person is behaving. And not everyone is purely one or the other. There's often a mixture. But based on what I'm actually seeing in terms of what I know about him, it appears to me he's much more strongly in the service to other camp.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
I'm not saying he doesn't have any self-interest at all, but, based on his actions, it appears he's far more concerned with the welfare of those he's responsible for than any personal gain. Yeah, is the vibe I'm getting anyway. Okay. And of course, that's what we call a hero, right? Okay. So those are some of the indicators around, so that all is loosely related to that's all to the fifth archetype, whether it's in Leo or in the fifth house. That's the indicators of why in his life would he have been an entertainer, a comedian, a leader. Okay. So then we come to the other major theme I saw in his chart, which is genius and being unconventional. Okay. So his sun is in Aquarius, so is mine. I'm nowhere near the amazing man he is, but I can relate to a person in Aquarius. So actually one of the keywords of Aquarius is genius. That's a legitimate keyword for that energy. So his natal sun is in that sign, and he's joined at the hip with Venus. Sun and Venus are not even 1 degree apart. They're both 5 degrees and change in the sign of Aquarius. So when you see this in Aquarius, you say, okay, here is a person who's original, outside the box, not thinking like other people think. A really well-developed Aquarian, in my observation with all my client work and such, is a person who follows their intuitive hits and who serves others with their special gifts and talents they most love to use. And in my opinion, he's 100% doing that. Yeah. So what's Venus? That could be, again, creativity. In his earlier entertainment career, Venus, again, the artist, what the person doing their creative thing is very much thing. And his work was being published, what his comedy was being put out I'll just go ahead, he did TV, he did movies, things like that, all kinds of filmed entertainment media. And the ninth house is a house of publication. Okay, so back in the day when astrology was formed, that meant a book, but today publication could be a movie, a TV show, a podcast, an audiobook, any kind of getting information out in any way, shape, or form is publication now. So his work needs to be published, and even now, even in his leadership role, he's publishing all the time. He's communicating out to the world constantly in the course of his business as a leader, and that's one of the things that sets him apart.
So many clues. I hope everybody's commenting with their guesses. I'm going to put you on the spot, okay? Because you've talked about this, one part of the career being in a creative element, running a comedy troupe, right? And then there's this very different, in my opinion, kind of career with the leadership capacity that you're speaking about. Is there anything in the chart or placements of the planets, or I know some people watching this have no idea what the blue and then the red lines and all that are in the chart, but is there anything that would potentially point to like a part 1 and a part 2 of someone going through a major career change?
Yeah, that would be the transits. Okay. And actually there's natal clues to that as well. Let me talk about the natal clue first. First off, he has an Aquarius midheaven. I hadn't got to that quite yet, but the career point itself, this red line starting house 10, is in Aquarius. And one of the keywords of Aquarius is paradigm shift, quantum leap, sudden change. And it often happens when a person has Aquarius midheaven that they do make surprising shifts of career or reputation. So that could be one factor. And there's a secondary reason why as well. In the house system I use, Porphyry, the sign Pisces is completely contained inside the 10th house. So therefore, Pisces becomes a co-ruling energy of his career. Okay. And what's Pisces? The shapeshifter, the chameleon. I can transmorph into whatever I need to be. Okay. So both Aquarius and Pisces are very changeable. Aquarius tends to change more suddenly. Pisces is more like a kind of a constant slippery kind of transformation energy. But both of those energies are about, a career that could change shape and form, throughout the course of a lifetime.
I feel like you're reading me. So I know that this is not my chart. Spoiler alert. I have an Aquarius midheaven. I have Pisces moon in the 10th. And my career literally changed overnight, one night, 7.5 years ago, where I was an executive. I was working at a business school, and literally all of my psychic mediumship gifts came in overnight. I'm 5th generation, but I had no idea that they were about to drop in. So I find it interesting whenever I hear about somebody who had one career and then now they have something that, in my opinion, is very, very different, although I'm sure there's overlapping qualities and things about it. But having gone through it myself, I didn't realize there was an Aquarius Pisces dimension going on there. But I bring this up, even though this isn't about me, because I'm sure that there are people watching this right now, hearing your interpretation of the mystery chart and even looking at like where some of the placements are and asking questions about their own chart and how their different planets are, you know, placed in their own natal chart, which is why I think everyone should get an astrology reading and do them regularly. But I'll let you continue on. Enough about my chart.
Thanks for plugging astrology. I think it's, you know, it's a map of the soul, you know, and having done over 10,000 readings, you know, it's so rare that a chart that doesn't absolutely nail a person's life to present and also paint a big, beautiful picture of what their potential could be. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to his genius signatures. Okay, so I was just talking about the midheaven Aquarius. So those are all very potent genius opportunities. As if that wasn't enough, you know, Aquarius is the sign of genius, but Uranus is the planet of genius. And his natal Uranus, right around 16 Scorpio, is making a right angle or square to the midheaven. So this is a double down genius midheaven. So Aquarius on this cusp, Uranus, the same energy coming into it by aspect, that little right angle square. So that's just, it's saying, yes, there could be sudden shifts of what he does for a living, and he can do it with amazing genius. Okay. Now, Aquarius is also an air sign, and air loves to communicate, and it loves to communicate unconventionally. Another thing that sets him apart that I alluded to briefly before is when he was, I will just tell you this much, he's a politician. Okay. And one of the things that set him apart was when he was running for office, he didn't so much do regular media interviews. He communicated directly through social media. Okay. Especially Instagram. So he did his campaigning that way. And now that he's in his office and doing his leadership, he's constantly reaching out through social media, and he's bypassing all the regular media outlets, and he's going directly to the people with the direct communication through social media.
All right, we got to have people start guessing. So if you haven't dropped your guess in the live chat for the live premiere, or if you haven't dropped it in the comments for the replay, please do that now. We want to see what your guesses are. Benjamin, like he said, might be a little tricky. It might not be who you think, or maybe it is. We'll reveal it.
This was a really hard one to disguise.
Well, let me ask you this then. So while we have everybody interacting in the comments of this video, in your interpretation of this chart, we'll reveal it in a moment. We'll bring up the information. What do you think this person wants his legacy to be? Is there any kind of flavor or indication of like what maybe is that? Maybe it's the North Node, right? Or something tied to the North Node. Like, what is his soul here to do? What does he want that legacy to be after he's gone?
Well, that could be answered without even looking at the chart. I mean, the challenge he's administrating right now is epic. I mean, globally epic. All right. And he would want his legacy to be that he brought a harmonious and just resolution to the conflict he's currently involved in. He wants to be known as the leader who came out of this incredibly difficult circumstance and prevailed in a way that was good for those he's leading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like to? Oh yeah, go ahead.
And if you want to put it on the nodes, here's the North Node. That's the destiny point. If you want to go to one point, Libra is creativity, but it's also balance and fairness and harmony and justice. Libra, the very symbol of Libra, is the scales of justice, stylized. Okay. So he wants justice to come out of the situation he's in, where he's up against what's perceived to be an unjust foe. Okay. And in the fifth house of leadership. So he wants to be known as the leader, fifth house, North Node in the fifth house, who brought justice, balance, and harmony out of a really challenging situation, and did it, North Node loosely conjunct Pluto, through the skillful use of power in a way that was service to other power and not just self-serving power. So that's, I mean, they could go even richer than that, but that to me is kind of the essence of it both in plain language and through the astrology symbols.
Well, let's go ahead and show the birth info if you want to reveal that.
All righty.
Da, 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 da,
Vladimir
da.
Zelensky. You probably guessed it.
I think a lot of people guessed it for sure. I'll pull
Yeah.
up the, I think I can do this. Yep, perfect. So here is his photo. Yeah, you probably know him as the president of Ukraine. I feel like a lot of people got that. Lots of clues.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, at least for me, hearing your interpretation, I feel like we got a behind the scenes look at what his goals are in this lifetime, just looking at the astrology chart. So those of us that don't know him, never met him, looking at the natal birth chart can give us an indication of perhaps what his soul wanted to do while he was incarnated, this time around. Yeah, is there anything else you want to share about him, about the chart, anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, he kind of blended the two together in a sort of transition, because his most popular role, he did a multi-season television show where he played the president of Ukraine. Servant of the People was the name of this, and it ran for like 4 or 5 seasons, and it was hugely popular. And so I don't know if he just was playing a role, or if he actually had this strategy: if I am identified in this role as the president of Ukraine, maybe I can actually become the president of Ukraine, But he kind of went from in his creative life, he imagined himself dramatically as that role, and then he became it for real. And just in terms of what he's growing into, I was so impressed. Here's just the last bit of his Wikipedia summary. It says, his leadership during the Russian crisis, because of course Russia is at war with Ukraine right now, they've invaded, has won him widespread international praise, and he has been described as a symbol of the Ukrainian resistance. Zelensky was named the Time Person of the Year for 2022, and opinion polls in Ukraine have ranked him as Ukraine's greatest president. And one person compared him to Churchill, one historian. Right. So, I mean, to be compared to Churchill, one of the greatest wartime leaders of all time, I mean, that's high praise. Yeah.
I'd be curious.
So he's stepped completely and legitimately into the role of wartime leader against a hugely powerful foe. And his skill has not just been because Ukraine had virtually no armaments of its own, and on its own would have been wiped out quickly. But his skill as a communicator and taking an orthodox way to do this, he was so good at marshaling support from the West, from the United States and other allies, that he's winning because he's been such a skillful negotiator and getting other people to send him what he needs to fight the war. So it's like, he's just brilliant.
I'd be very curious to look at the differences and similarities in charts between Vladimir and Ronald Reagan, only because Ronald Reagan, obviously a former president, but Ronald Reagan also had an acting background and then became a president. So be curious to see if there would be anything similar between, the two charts in terms of a part 1, part 2, and maybe these two gentlemen that perhaps artfully combined the two things they were born with to create some leadership capacity, whether, you like them as individuals or not, or their styles or not. I just think astrology and the way that the planets show up and in what way they do can be very, very telling, I think, just about perhaps what the soul wanted when it came in to life on Earth this time around.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating to see if Reagan also has the same Leo signature that was covering kind of both bases, leader and entertainer. Yeah, exactly.
I'd like everybody watching this, if you have a chart that you want us to do a mystery, famous and fated episode on, you can always go to SpiritAndSpark.com and click on the contact page. Send me a note. I know. Do it on the sly on the website, because I don't want everyone to see it in the comments, because then we might do it. I don't want to give it away. Yeah, beautiful. Well, you have your website, astroshaman.com. You've got your 2 podcasts, you're on social media, you've got your Awakening Plus membership, and your website, astroshaman.com, is the best place for people to contact you and learn about your
Yes.
work. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything I do is linked from there. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Benjamin Bernstein, thank you so much for being a part of the Famous and Fated episode. We're looking forward to bringing everyone more of these fun, interactive episodes. Hopefully, you guessed Vladimir Zelensky correctly, but if not, thanks, thanks anyway for playing along. And we'll see you on the next episode. For more information about my work, go to SpiritAndSpark.com and make sure you've subscribed to us here on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on this video. Share it with your inner circle. Help us spread the word about this channel and about our work. And follow us over on Instagram and Facebook at Spirit and Spark. Benjamin, we will be seeing you again soon. And everybody, thanks for tuning in.